Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee was founded in 2014 by Ed and Courtney Lemix alongside their son, Brett. The delicious DeLuna blends are a product of Ed's discerning palate for the finest coffee beans on the planet, and Brett's business acumen has them on the national radar for quality. Savor the simplicity of Graffiti Bridge. 100% Colombian beans roasted to a city roast for optimal flavor. Ed and Brett are both FSU alums and are extending a special offer to our listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit thelunacoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
and this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee, DeLunaCoffee.com. Warchant15, your promo code over there. Check out those sweet tumblers. They've got merch. It's got the show logo on it, which looks super awesome, and the DeLuna logo on the backside. It's now my everyday drinking mug, Corey. Although, I mean, just, water, mainly coffee on the weekends. None of the nectar. No nectar goes into this mug. It's a sacred mug, Corey. Do you have a sacred mug, favorite cup, anything like that? I still have your mug, by the way, here at the Midtown offices. You need to tell Stephanie to come pick it up, man.
Yeah, I was going to say, she would love that. I can't wait to get that. I'd like it too, honestly. So I really need – no, she doesn't need to come by and get it. I'll come and get it.
It's well constructed. I think you'll enjoy it quite immensely, Corey. Yeah, but then it's kind of like dad life, boyfriend life, I guess. Like all the cool stuff you get kind of has to be bequeathed over to your children or your significant other. Like whenever my dad would get something cool, I'd be like, "Oh, let me get that." And my dad's so awesome about that. Like he's like, "You like it? Go ahead, take it." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I don't care." I'm like, "You're the man." And my pops when I was in high school drove like a 1990, which I mean sounds really old now, and when I was in high school it wasn't that long ago. Maybe it was an 88, like Toyota Corolla hatchback, just so my mom could drive a nicer car and my brother could have a car. Like, just selfless, Shout out, Pops.
I think Ira's got a little bit of that in him.
He does.
Ira doesn't care if he drives a nice car at all. He'll drive a jalopy if his daughters and his wife have a nicer car. So, yeah, I think he's got a little bit of that in him. I do not. I was thinking about that. Like, Brady in 4 years will be driving. And I'm like, I'm not buying him a new car. There's no chance. So I'm trying to number one, he'll wreck it, and he doesn't deserve a new car. No 16-year-old does. What are we doing? But I was thinking, like, I need to go ahead and buy a new car soon enough that when he's 16 or 17 or wants to drive, I can give him that one, and I can go buy myself a new car. But I don't want to keep the car I have now for another 4 years and then give it to him. You know what I mean? So I think I need to get on board and start and buy a new car now, and then it'll be 4 years old when Brady gets it.
What, do you think he deserves something better than what you're driving right now, or you just think you're going to put so many miles on that car?
No, I don't want to I don't want to continue to drive this car, essentially. So I don't, and I don't think I don't want to. I certainly don't want to drive it for 4 more years. So I feel like if I traded it in this summer, get something nicer, and then that'll be bequeathed to Brady when he's old enough to drive.
Oh, what a bummer! Way to teach him a lesson. 4-year-old car. Wow, Dad. Way to instill.
Well, I might buy like a 2008.
All right.
You know what I mean? That might be what I do. So he can drive a. Does your dad, by the way, does he still have that car, the hatchback?
Oh, no. That's the car I used.
That's
the car I used when I went on my driving test because it was so small that I could do the 3-point turn and park it without any issue. It was clutch.
Yeah, that's crazy. So Georgia was the parallel parking.
Ooh, I still can't.
And I was awful. Like I literally in my driver's test. I don't know if I've told it to you. I've definitely told it on headlines. I end up driving. It's a perpendicular park where there's the 2 cones, and the back end of the car is up on the curb, and me and the cop are staring straight ahead into the parking lot. Like I have somehow backed it up and forgot to turn it back, so it was even with the curb. So the two tires are on the curb. And we're perpendicular parked in between the cones. And I asked the cop, I'm like, what do I do? He goes, I don't know. This has never happened before. And I go, can I try it again? He goes, yeah, sure. And so I did, and I did it well the second time. Nice. And he ended up passing me with like an 80. But I remember my mom had to take off work to take me to the driver's test. And then, they had a huge line at the DMV. So people watched me do that. Like I had an audience of people outside, and she was one of them. And I remember driving by her and her just shaking her head really angrily because she had just seen her son on a parallel parking test pop both tires up on the curb.
So what, police officers are the proctors in the state of Georgia?
They were 30 years ago or 28 years ago, whenever that was. I don't know what they are now.
Yeah, back in my day, it was just some, you go to the DMV and just one of those workers like, all right, you're with me, let's go. Good times. Hope you all have children that are safe behind the wheel and pass their test the first time. Hopefully that all works out. As we record this, I don't want to jinx it, but I just did it. Jack Anderson in the midst of a no-no, 6 full. No, he might have a perfect game. I don't think he's walked anybody.
Well, you definitely just jinxed it then.
All right. Sorry. Well, I don't even think Meat's going to let him go the whole time. He'll probably give. Well, do you think Meat would give him the hook in the middle of a midweek game? Which I hate to ask you because this game's going to be over. It's going to be history by the time everybody listens to this. I'm not going to ask you that. I'm going to ask you questions that everybody else has posed for us on the Tribal Council, warchant.com, Ultimate Seminoles Sports Source, promo codes warchant30. Hit that thumbs up button if you're listening to us on YouTube. That would be much appreciated. Everybody in the iTunes, again, if you're listening to us on iTunes, awesome, you found the solution. If you continue to struggle and don't know, or maybe just listening for the first time in a week or so, just go ahead on iTunes, Apple Podcast app, whatever they use in that universe, and search for Wake Up Warchant. You'll see 2 results. Tap on the one with the DeLuna coffee logo on it. That's our updated recent feed. You'll have all the updated new episodes. Please don't unsubscribe to the other one for right now because we might get that back up and running. But that's a solution for right now. Hopefully you found it by now and you're all tucked away and tidy with us. Corey, we spoke to head football coach Mike Norvell, Chris Marv, and Derek McClendon, as well as Stephen Dix Jr. on Wednesday. I think I know where your story probably is going. That's going to be published on warchant.com. I don't know if I want to. So let's not talk about that first. Let's talk about what I want to talk about. Okay. Man, I think his 30-second answer to my question about Jordan Travis was maybe the most effusive praise he's given to anybody since he's been at Florida State. I think it was a red Kool-Aid pitcher, ice cold on a July day Kool-Aid. Like it was. His accuracy is next level now. His footwork is incredibly increased and getting better, and his physical development. He's up at 206, 207, and putting on weight in the middle of spring and running faster than he ever has before. Not to say that the other guy is dead in the water. Not saying that by any stretch of the imagination. I assure you, I have plenty of holdings in Milton LLC. I can't let it go. But, man, I don't know. That's what caught my ear. Maybe it's because I asked and I'm selfish. What caught your ear on Wednesday?
Yeah, that was something, and I appreciate that you I think we talked about it early in the week. You should have said, hey, as we've discussed on the popular Wake Up Warchant podcast, how beneficial is it for Jordan Travis to actually get to practice? Because he didn't get to practice a whole lot last year. Because I think he even said that was a good point or astute observation or something he said to you. Yeah. You should have said, well, look, there's 2 of us making that point every day, Mike. I know, every day. He was definitely effusive, and I almost asked him, I don't know, maybe it's something to ask after the spring game, but I think it's fair to ask at this point. Certainly, let's maybe wait till after the spring game, but people just assume Mackenzie Milton came here and he was going to be the quarterback. I think people still assume it. Yeah, I still think national people assume he's going to be the quarterback. And anytime Jordan Travis is brought up, it's for show. It's for, just to talk about it, just so he doesn't have the job. So to keep Jordan engaged. And it's coach speak, but it's Mackenzie Milton's job. We both know that's not true. It is a legitimate quarterback battle. And I would want to ask him, for him to set the record straight when it comes to that. People think that Jordan Travis is playing for second place, basically. He's playing for a backup spot. But just how in the mix is he for the starting quarterback job? And the problem with it is he's going to answer like he always does. Well, we got 4 quarterbacks we believe in.
All right.
So that's why I didn't ask it. because it's putting him in a tough spot, and I know how he's going to answer it anyway. But yeah, man, he was very, very complimentary of Jordan Travis. He said he's faster than he's ever been. He's 207 pounds now, which I don't know what he was last year, 190 maybe, 195. But yeah, he said that he's played well. I did want to know, because he talked about the Malik McClain had like an 80-yard touchdown.
Yes.
On the practice on Wednesday. I wanted to ask, well, who threw it? Because that would be so, because it didn't sound like it was just a little screen pass that he took 80. It seemed like he said it was it was a contested ball. He was well covered. So I was wondering who threw that ball to him. But yeah, man, that was good to hear too about Malik McClain. He brought him up almost unsolicited. But yeah, man, Jordan Travis, he was very effusive in that praise. And this is a real thing, folks. This isn't us playing podcasts. Like, be interested. We want a quarterback controversy for the next 6 months before the season starts. This is real. Like, this is a real quarterback battle. Mackenzie Milton has not won anything look, he's won 23 straight games. Let's phrase it differently. He hasn't won the job at Florida State.
Actually, you know what, Corey? I'm going to play it. I know we just pretty much totally paraphrased everything you said, but I'm going to go ahead and, from the horse's mouth, here's Mike Norvell talking about Jordan Travis and the ability of having him available every day and watching him practice and how beneficial it's been.
No, it's been huge. And, that's a great point that you had, because it is, it was so unique last year. You went through fall camp, and I don't think he practiced until the actual Georgia Tech week practice. And then, from that point on, it was hit and miss to, really, how much time we got with him, different ailments or things that were going on with his body. And it was a challenge. And, Jordan is a phenomenal young man. He's a tough-minded young man. He loves to compete. You see the physical development that he has. I think he's 206, 207 pounds now, still gaining weight through three spring ball and running faster than he's ever run. I'm excited to see that. And then, like we talked about on Monday, just consistency with his feet, the confidence that he has, and the rhythm and the timing of what we ask him to do in the passing game, and his accuracy is just increased to a next level in how he's playing, and he's starting to understand what he's doing when it's not right.
All right, that was probably a little bit longer than I should have played, but you get the point, everybody. So I don't know. Again, I'm not. To Corey's point, not trying to move the needle. We're established. DeLuna's our title sponsor. We don't get to charge them anymore if we get more downloads. But yeah, I just kind of found that a little bit. Very encouraging again, man, because ultimately, listen, if he's progressing like that, if his accuracy is becoming next level, and we've seen some instances of it during spring, well, then certainly, that puts you in a good position at quarterback if he wins the job. And if not, then the guy that's going to take the job away from him is going to have to be performing at a very high level. So, and that's, again, man, that's the one thing I think. I know the defense is a huge bugaboo, a huge point of concern, but, man, if the quarterback can be healthy and productive, I just think that helps cover a lot of the deficiencies with the team. So I found that a bit of an uplifting note as they break for the week, for the Easter weekend. Otherwise,
yeah, sure. I do think that again, it's something we've talked about, but yeah, man, they're better. They're so much better there at that position, which I think we all agree is a pretty important position on a football team, than they were this time last year. Plus, they're getting a whole spring to figure out their warts, to figure out what these guys do well, don't do well, work on those. All those things that they didn't get last year. Plus, they're just better in the room. Jordan Travis got some real experience last year. And lest we forget, when he was healthy, he was pretty darn good. It's a big caveat, but when he's healthy, he's a pretty darn good college quarterback, or he can be. He's shown the promise of it. And then we all know what Mackenzie Milton's done. So, yeah, man, I just think you feel good in that room with what you've got. And they're going to be better at that position. And again, this isn't – Jordan Travis is legit. He's a college quarterback, and he is squarely in the middle of this competition.
Oh, you're not even going to believe it. You ready for it, Corey?
Let's
Jack
hear
Anderson goes 6 2/3 and then allows a solo home run.
Yeah, so they're going to lose 1-0.
I'm sorry, Jack.
Yeah, it's
Anderson
not like
family.
you said it when they were up 9-0 either. Like, let's just see, let's play it out. It's 0-0 until he gives up a solo home run, and now the offense has found its February form again.
I know I'm not that excited about what they're doing right now, but I'm not losing the faith. Keeping the faith.
Well, they're also Matt Nelson's not playing. Logan Lacey's not playing. I think Nander is still out. So yeah, they're not they can't get right health wise. Logan Lacey's a big part of that lineup. They're really missing him, and then obviously Matt Nelson's probably their best hitter, and Nander's a 3-year starter. So those are big losses. Still, somebody touch home plate. I mean, it's a midweek game. Touch home plate for heaven's sake.
All right, so back to football real quick. So I think, I really like your line of questioning on Wednesday. I know we really haven't talked about it because it's one of those, I guess, kind of Captain Obvious layup things, but nonetheless, it's worth talking about. What do you think about the response when you ask Chris Marv and Mike Norvell just about how important it's been to get up to this point, man, a full spring? It hasn't been interrupted. I mean, some teams have actually hit pause on their spring practice because of health issues and health concerns related to the pandemic. They're going to break for Easter weekend. That's why they moved practice up to Monday, Wednesday. I think it's been like nearly 4 weeks of practice they've logged in. I can't imagine just how much more data they have, how much further along they are, how much more, encouraged they are now than they were a year ago.
Yeah, I think it's something that just can't be overstated. Like, and it's not every team had to go through it, but again, not every team was a first-year coaching staff. Like, they got no chance to work with these guys on the actual field. And, Marv said it. He's like, there's just, especially at linebacker, like you can only know so much until they put the pads on. And he didn't get to see them put the pads on until 3 weeks before the first game. They were robbed of a month of learning about their players. And now they get that. And so now you can see without the stress of an actual season and game planning for that week's opponent, you are actually giving all these guys the reps they need and getting to see who's getting better, who's staying still, who's not nearly as good as you thought, who's better than you thought. All that happens in the spring. You don't get a ton of time to do that in August. And then once the season starts, And you're worried about making sure the guys that are going to play or the guys you're counting on to play know what they're doing, know what the game plan is. This is the time to get better. This is the time to improve. And I just don't think it can be overstated how important it is. And, that's what they both talked about it, like how vital this March has been for them, for everything, for the breeding the competition, to them learning more and more about what's expected, the standard, all of that stuff, I think is really important. I know people get tired of hearing about that, and they just want to start seeing wins on Saturdays in the fall. But man, you don't get those wins until you have good. You got to have good springs. You got to know who your players are. You just can't wait until August 12th or August 17th to figure out who you can go to war with. You need to know that. You need to have an idea of it in March. And then you can cater everything you do to what you actually know your personnel. And I just think this month, also the whole season helped. You kind of got a glimpse of your personnel, but they have so many new guys that you get a glimpse of who your personnel is with this month. It's really beneficial.
Let's get a running head start onto our ponies and gallop along the open plain here, Corey. We're going to go to Matt AMCZ. It's Mark in Naples. He's further along in the mailbag, but this is a very relevant question because it was answered on Wednesday. I don't know if you saw this, Corey, but it worked out perfectly. Mark tells us to wake up. I am listening to the replay of Tuesday's live show. I'm pondering Corey's comment about Norvell's unprecedented media access to practices and scrimmages. It's obviously a great thing for the media and us fans. Without that, we'd all be assuming that certain players are leading position battles when that may not be the case. Why do you think Mike Norvell takes this approach? I'm guessing there's a strategic reason other than wanting to be super generous to the media, although note, you media members deserve the best. Maybe it's to avoid second-guessing speculation when decisions are made on the depth chart, to avoid speculation that practices are not run efficiently and with purpose. And do you expect the access to be more limited in fall camp? Thanks as always, and Corey, I hope you and Brady had a great time in Indy. #DadLife. Go Noles.
We did have a good time in Indy. Thank you very much for saying that. It was a nice time. It was, it's a dad and a 12-year-old, so there are going to be some ups and downs. But for the most part, it was a good time. We had a good time. There's a little bit too much complaining about what we were going to eat and how long until the next game, whatever. But I won't even bore you with any of that. That's for the text I have with his mom. So I asked Norvell about that because I saw on Twitter on Wednesday that University of Washington is opening up their practices. And as far as I know, they're the only like Power 5 school other than Florida State that does it. So I asked Norvell why he does it, and it's the same answer he gave earlier. But I don't. The reason I thought of it at all is we were, I was recording headlines on Tuesday, and Jeff, rightly so, like what I talked about, he was criticizing how the team looked and how Mackenzie Milton looked and how just the team looked overall. It didn't look like a very good team, which shouldn't be all that surprising, but whatever not. And I was like, look, before we go any further, we should point out that let's not dismiss or just not dismiss, but let's not take for granted the fact that we get to have opinions because he's nice. And I know it sounds like I'm just, heaping praise on the head coach that's 3-6, but he's nice enough to let us watch practice. And fans, I mean, I know fans have been able to come out to a couple. That's no other coaches.
They've been to both.
Yeah, the scrimmages. So, like, no other coaches do that besides, I guess, who's at Washington now? Is it still Chris Peterson?
No, Jimmy Lake.
Oh, sorry. Where's Peterson?
He retired, man. He got out of this game.
Oh, that's right.
It's rigged, man. Everything's rigged for the Southeast. Why even bother?
Yeah, smart. I thought we should at least acknowledge how awesome it is that we, the media members in the country other than in Seattle, Washington, get to watch college football practices and scrimmages. And the reason he does it is what he said is he wants people to see how hard his players are working. He wants their stories to be told. He wants their practices to be documented, how hard they're working. And I think what struck me when he answered that question was that, we believe in so much of we believe in what we're doing. We believe in our message. And so they're not worried about anything untoward happening in a practice where, oh gosh, I hope nobody saw that. And they better not report that. There's not really stuff like that going on. Yeah, there'll be some people that get into it a little bit because it's competitors. But yeah, I just think that he thinks any publicity for his football program, the more publicity he can get for his football program, the more interest is better for the football program. It drives fan interest. Having the media out there, being able to report on a daily basis what they see, for the most part, bi-weekly basis, what they see is really good for the program. Number one, we know what we're talking about. We have a better understanding of what we're writing about and talking about, but the fans feel more connected to the team. It's not just Coach Norvell. Coach Kirby Smart said that the receivers look pretty good, and that's the story.
Yeah.
We actually get to know. We get to see. We get to document who wins each one-on-one battle. So you feel more invested in the program. It's really mind-boggling that more coaches, maybe not even at Florida State, but the coaches at like the Memphis level, why they wouldn't do it. Because when you're trying to, not all schools have the fan interest that Florida State does. And you're trying to drum up interest, man, it makes sense to do stuff like that. The fans that are like Stanford and places like that, I just feel like the fans will be so much more connected to the team. So that's why he says he does it. I don't know that there's a advantage schematically or competitively. He did bring up that the reason he has all his assistants talk so much is because he thinks a few of them will be head coaches one day, and he thinks it's good for him to do that. Again, that's something I agree wholeheartedly with.
Yeah.
And it also helps the fans get to know those coaches. But yeah, I don't. He didn't really answer what it does for them. I think honestly, it's what it does for you guys. You get to read and listen to people, and if you want on the scrimmage, you can go out and watch for yourself and make your own opinions of what this team can be. There's nothing to hide.
One of his guys that might become a head coach, but probably won't have his practice open is probably Chris Marv. I don't think Chris Marv.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. Because I think one of the questions I asked was well, not to give it away what we're trying to do. It's like, come on, man. Linebackers coach.
Oh, yeah,
Chill
about
out,
the
Chris.
4-2-5. Yeah,
Out,
not
Chris.
to give away the secrets. Sure.
It's going to be all right, man. I kid, though. I tease. It's all good. Yeah, everyone's a little bit different. But, yeah, man, because at this point, if we weren't at practices, we're just trying to decode language, right? We're like, well, what was his body language like when we asked him about Malik McClain? So it's much appreciated for us. Helps us do our job better. Again, to Corey's point, hopefully it makes listening to the show a little bit better. Hopefully it'll at least be able to set expectations nicely as we go into the season rather than kind of just hoping because we don't have anything to really judge off other than, he was a 4-star and it's a year later and, maybe he's a little bit better. So I do appreciate that. The folks at mybookie.ag would appreciate if you use the promo code WARCHANT, so much so that they will match your deposit, your first deposit, 100% of its value up to $1,000. Talked about this the other day, Corey. The promo code's WARCHANT, mybookie.ag. You know, right now Florida State is plus 12,500 to win the national championship this year, Corey.
Okay, all right.
So,
you gonna put a little money on that?
I don't know, maybe. I was thinking, if I put a grip on it, if I put $1,000 on it, I could win $125,000. I mean, that would help out.
You're probably just going to lose $1,000.
Well, but what if I win? What if Florida State wins it all? Imagine imagine if they made it to the national title game and lost. Right?
Well, look, again, that's where you hedge your bet, and whoever they're playing, you put $40,000 on that team or something.
You're right.
So you, at least you make some money.
You're right. Is anybody going to beat Gonzaga? I don't think the folks at MyBookie do. They are far and away the favorites in the Final Four. They are minus 250. Baylor's plus 400. Houston's plus 800. UCLA plus 2,200. What a great story UCLA is, but they're probably going to be lambs going to the slaughter. Side note, really cool, about 2.5 weeks ago, there's literally a text message between myself, Corey, and Ira where I'm like, Mick Cronin, good hire, UCLA. What a bunch of idiots. And right now, he's 2 wins away from winning a national title. What do I know? Not a lot. Go to mybookie.ag, use your instincts, become a winner. All right, Corey, let's keep this ponies going. Let's get back on track here on the Renegade Express. Drill Sergeant Porter with a quick comment of, hey, wake up! Just a reminder that FSU football currently has a longer active winning streak than Miami, Florida, Clemson combined. Also, we need some Wake Up War Chant t-shirts, and an idea would be on the front an image of the sticker that does hello, my name is, and then we can personalize them with our handle on here so we can put a face with a name at games or during tailgating. For example, mine would say, hello, my War Chant name is Drill Sergeant Porter. Just an idea. Go Noles.
That's a good idea.
All right, we can get that. Noles 6.
He's saying to do it as a T-shirt?
Yeah. Subscriber
Okay, so
Noles 6 also says, this is an amazing idea. I'm down. He quoted it and replied in the Renegade Express thread. So we got demand, Gene. We got demand building up for T-shirts. So no pressure, boss. Also, Drill Sergeant Porter, hope the move is going well. I think he was using the tribal council as a canvas and crowdsource places to live in the Panhandle, like Destin, Fort Walton Beach area. So I think he said the move is happening. Hope it works out for you and the family. And welcome to Florida. Welcome back to Florida, maybe. I don't know how that works out. But nonetheless, thanks for always getting here on the show and asking us a question. Old Dad's a Nole, Corey, wants to talk about some roundball, it looks like. Wake up! Well, I do believe we can all agree that this was a bad ACC. We can blame COVID or whatever, but it's not hard to see that the conference was probably the 5th out of the 5 power conferences, and that's sad. What do you guys think is the reason for such a decline in what was once a deep, second-to-none basketball conference? Any forensic clues out there, Corey, you picking up on? Or just, is it one-and-dones? Has North Carolina and Duke sold their souls to the one-and-dones and not developed guys, and here we are now? Or did Virginia get torpedoed by COVID and gave them an early exit? What say ye?
Yeah, I don't know that there's not a one reason. I think it's just cyclical. I think it was a down year for the programs that are normally very good. And I don't think that's going to last. Like Duke, you know what Duke's bringing in next year. I don't have to tell you. I don't know any of their names either, but we know what Duke's recruiting classes look like. They're going to be one and done, 5-star super duper guys. So look, man, that's what Duke will bring in. Carolina's going to be probably pretty good again. Virginia will be good again. Florida State will be good again. I just don't think, last year Florida State was clearly the class of the league, and I think that was a Final Four team. But this year there wasn't one of those elite teams. Next year Florida State might be there again. So might Duke. It is hard to know when you're so dependent on one and dones that you never know from year to year. Hence Kentucky.
Yeah.
1 year they're incredible. 1 year, if you miss on a couple of guys, or they're just not ready right away to go win at this level, play 32 minutes a game, you can struggle. Like Duke struggled, Kentucky struggled. Kentucky didn't even have a winning record, I don't think.
No. By the way, Duke's got 2 guys committed for 2021. They're both 5 stars.
Yeah. So normal stuff. Normal stuff. Right. So I think it was I think it's a blip. I don't think it's a trend. the best players in the country. There's a lot of really good players in the South. It's not like Duke and Carolina and Florida State are struggling to sign big-time players. It'd be awesome if Tony Bennett left and Virginia could bring in somebody that played exciting brand of basketball. But overall, I just think the ACC is almost always judged on Duke and Carolina,
Right.
and how good they are, I think. And when they're down, the ACC seems down because the other teams are always going to be. Florida State's a top-tier team now, but they're not a blue blood. They're not a power program. So to have that oomph, you need a couple of 1 or 2 seeds in your conference. Teams that'll be 1s or 2s in the NCAA tournament. You just didn't have that this year. But I think that's I just think that's a blip. I think North Carolina. I know the Caleb Love kid said he's coming back. We'll see what other guys decide to do. But they're going to have some talent for sure. Virginia will have talent. Syracuse has got most of their guys coming back. Florida State, Duke. It could be a good Georgia Tech. All their seniors might come back. Who knows? It could be just one down year, a blip, and then next year they'll be back to being the normal ACC. But yes, it was clearly a down year.
Yeah, and I think a lot of conferences, with these expanded TV rights deals they're getting from football, I think it's just trickling down, and everybody's taking everything so much more seriously. I know when I was in Mississippi, I think there was a season where maybe Kentucky, it might have been like Kentucky and Tennessee were the only 2 teams that got into the tournament, and they hired a guy that used to be working for the Big East, not Gavitt, but somebody that kind of Oresco, I don't know, I can't think of his name right now, but somebody that used to work for the Big East, basically as like a consultant to kind of tell the SEC, that the SEC offices hired this guy as a consultant to be like, what do we need to do to get more teams into the dance? And part of it was scheduling, and I'm sure they also got some other kind of hints and clues and roadmaps to do things. And look at them, Alabama made it deep into the tournament. They seem to be. Nate Oates, that guy, he's like a SOB to deal with.
I tell you, but he's a good coach. I tell you what is interesting though about the ACC. Who would you say right now, other than Virginia, who are the other 3 best teams in the perennial? I'm not going to quiz you. I'm not playing that game. It's Duke, Carolina, and Florida State. Other than Virginia, those are the top 4 programs in the conference and have been for, let's say, the last half decade or a decade.
Duke, North Carolina, Virginia, and Florida State?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Syracuse, because of the crazy runs they make in the tournament, let's throw them in at number 5.
Okay.
Well, man, 4 of those 5 coaches are old.
Oh, yeah, man. Not a lot of tread left on the tire.
So you wonder, what is the ACC going to look like in 2025?
Did you say 4 out of the 5? 4 out of the 4, man. All of them. 5 out of 5.
No, not Virginia. Tony Bennett isn't. That's the only one.
Sorry.
But maybe he'll take it to the NBA, and he can coach the Magic to a bunch of 81 to 65 wins. But
Louisville, Louisville, Chris Mack, they're a bit down though. This year,
but they haven't been great in the ACC yet. They won their championship when they're still in the Big East. But Louisville's certainly a perennial power. But there is going to be some turnover, and there are going to be some really interesting hires to be made in the next 3 or 4 years, notably at Florida State too. What they're going to do once Roy and Kay and Hamilton and Boeheim, who's been there forever, leave. Those are really big hires. You assume Duke and North Carolina will continue to churn along and be good, but you never know, man. North Carolina in between Dean and Roy Williams had some down years, so it's not just an automatic. So anyway, just food for thought. That's going to be really interesting coming up in 4 or 5 years. They should always be able to get good talent, but you just never know.
All right, Florida State just exploded for 3 runs in the 7th. They're up 3-1 now. Elijah Gabell had a home run, Corey. 2-run home run. Reese singled. Wyatt Crowell knocked him in. So we're back on track. So I can sleep well tonight. And knowing that I didn't
would you say it's locked up? Like the game's over?
Yeah, man. With this bullpen, come on.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap, man.
Can't wait to see how this one ends.
All right, let's go to the next question here. Scrolling on down. ABQ, no, let's keep it with the round ball. Wake up, gentlemen. The basketball team did exactly what we all said. Or actually, I think there might have been 2 parts. There was 2 parts to the question. I'm sorry, old dads and Noles not done yet. Second, to me, Coach Hamilton took this program to the next level when he implemented push, push, push. The last time we played Michigan, that team constantly attacked the basket and last year's team did so all year as well. What I saw a lot on Sunday was one person dribbling, back to the basket, 4 guys standing still largely. After watching the teams from 10 years ago, I was hoping we were past that, not hitting panic, but I sure hope we get back to the attack the basket offense and not the old jack up a 3 from days gone by. Let's play some football now, old dad.
Yeah, I think I don't think you should judge too harshly on that one. Well, the last 6 or 7 games that they played, they just clearly their 2 best guards, Scotty and MJ Walker, weren't quite themselves. And Scotty's not really that guy anyway. Like, it's not like this is what Florida State's going to be from here on out. They're going to be a bunch of just swinging around the perimeter, hopefully to get an angle, and then maybe get to the basket, maybe you don't, or you pull up for 19 feet, or you kick it out for a 3.
What's the
Last
plan
year
then?
they
What
got
was
to
the
the
plan
basket.
then, Corey? What was the plan then for Scotty Barnes? What do you think they were hoping for out of Scotty Barnes then?
I think they got about what they were hoping for. You're asking a kid. Now, look, we can say he wasn't great the last month. Sure, he was really good the first half of the season. And then, whether it's an excuse or not, he wasn't himself physically. He's still, every mock draft has him in the top 10. In fact, I was looking at mock drafts today, seeing if Raekwon Gray was mentioned in any of them, and he is not. But there are also mock drafts on the internet, so take them with a bunch of grains of salt. But next year, I think they're back to what they were the year before and the year before that. It depends on Worley and what he can be as a freshman point guard. But that isn't. I don't think that's. I think look at last year, not this year that just ended. The last year, that was not a team that just settled for contested threes. Mm-hmm. This team just had some deficiencies, and they shot the ball well at times, especially at home. And I think maybe they developed that they thought maybe that was their identity, is we're going to be a perimeter shooting team. We're going to shoot a lot of threes, and that's just not who they were away from the Tucker Center. They couldn't make them. And then MJ just wasn't MJ for the last month of the season. I think last year's team would have been plenty good offensively to get past. I think they thumped that Michigan team. Honestly, I do. Maybe thump is too strong, but I think they beat that Michigan team comfortably. Last year's Florida State team. I just do. They would not have backed down. That Dickinson kid is not pushing Dominic out of the way. They just had so many grown men to throw at them. And that just wasn't the case this year. It was just a bit of a bad matchup for them. But yeah, I think they'll be back to more what they looked like the previous few years. This one was just, you were a little hamstrung because look, the reason Scotty Barnes was at Florida State, Scotty Barnes could have gone anywhere in the country, could have gone to the G League. Florida State told him, yep, we'll let you play point guard. It's the same way they got Chris Singleton a decade ago. Chris Singleton, they said, we'll let you play the 2 or the 3. We'll let you be a wing and not a power forward, because that's what Chris Singleton thought his future was in the NBA. And that's the same thing with Scotty. So they told him he could play point guard. They let him play point guard. He was pretty good at it, but he's just not a dynamic point guard offensively. Good passer, great defender, but not dynamic. It's hard to attack the basket with a 6'9" point guard, unless he's posting up. And he didn't post up a lot. So I know that was a long-winded answer, but I think next year's team will be much more offensive. It won't be as offensively challenged as this year's team was at times.
Speaking of, let's pivot, or not pivot, let's just keep it rolling. Homeboy, I'm skipping some folks, but this kind of picks up where you left off, talking about point guard play perhaps. Homeboy, name of the subscriber, not me calling somebody homeboy.
Right.
Anybody who watched us play in the last month realized we were not the team many thought we were early. Our ball handling was horrific in some games, and our three-point shooting was so inconsistent. We lacked a true point guard, and it should surprise no one after the impact Trent Forrest made the past 4 years. That said, I'm really excited for next year with the newcomers and who will be back. Go Noles!
Yeah, you just didn't have a point guard. And Scotty might end up being a very good point guard in the NBA. We'll see. I can't quite figure out what he's going to be at that level. He will develop a jump shot eventually, and when you watched him shoot, I think he ended the season making a pretty good percentage of his free throws at the end of the year. I think he will be able to shoot. He just is not a good shooter right now. But he has a future in that league, but I don't know that it's a point guard. But either way, you'll have more of a traditional point guard next year. You'll have a guy that is a good handling the ball, and that's a great point about the ball handling and the turnovers. They just got to be ridiculous.
Just,
I don't know how else to say it.
I just thought I'm like they just possibly cannot continue to be this bad with it. Yet they somehow maintained it. Still won some games and made it to the Sweet 16, which is great. But that was so bizarre to see that kind of come out of, I don't say out of nowhere, but just the fact that it kept going on for so darn long. You figured, they would get it out of their system, but they never quite did.
No, they didn't. And that was, you lose that game in the first half. Part of it's, Raekwon getting into foul trouble, but you have 10 turnovers, unforced turnovers, just straight up throwing it out of bounds or charging into guys. And those count as turnovers, those charges. And, yeah, they did not handle the ball. They did not value the ball enough. It reminded me a lot of those pretty frustrating but good turn-of-the-decade teams, the 09, 10, 11 teams. They would be one of the worst in the country at turning the ball over. They've gotten better at that because they've gotten more skill all over the floor. But occasionally when you do ask power forwards and centers to handle the ball at the top of the key, because that's the offense they run, a lot of movement, a lot of cutting, a lot of screens. You're putting people. It's not like those teams that just have one ball handler. They have 4 dudes on the court that will be handling the ball, and some are better at it than others. So that's the problem you have with it. But next year, I just think they'll be, they'll just. MJ was a walking turnover there for a while. Anytime he tried to attack the paint, he got ripped. Scotty, a freshman, made freshman mistakes. I just think next year you have a chance to be a little better there.
Hey, how about another basketball question? ABQ.
Man, we're rolling.
Wake up, gentlemen. The basketball team did exactly what we all said they could not do if they wanted to beat Michigan. Too many silly turnovers and shot really poorly from the field. It seems like these FSU teams the last few years just run out of offense in the tournament, and I'm not sure why that is. Similar to the NBA playoffs, defenses across the board really tighten up in the NCAA tournament, but the guys just don't look as confident from the outside. Aside from the Colorado game, which wasn't spectacular, how many threes did FSU make? In this day and age of college basketball, teams have to shoot well from 3 to advance really deep in the tournament. Thoughts?
Yeah, so you saw it kind of with Michigan, right, in the Elite Eight game. All of a sudden, they were facing a team that wasn't giving them, kind of point-blank layups and attacks to the basket. Because Michigan didn't shoot well against Florida State either from 3.
No.
They shot under 30%, I think, or under 35. They weren't knocking it down from 3. They were just getting in the lane and finishing. Well, UCLA didn't allow that, and you saw Michigan struggled from 3 too. So it's not like it's a Florida State-specific problem. It's everybody but Gonzaga problem. Those guys just score at will. They're an NBA team.
It's absurd.
It's crazy. But yeah, I think they hit 5 against Colorado, maybe none against UNC Greensboro, and then 5 against Michigan, and Osborne had 4 of them. So hey, shout out to him. We haven't mentioned him once. He knocked down some threes. But look,
he'll be coming back too, I would assume, right?
Yeah, for sure. Unless Raekwon says he's coming back, and Malik's like, I want more playing time. If something like that happens, But I was going to say my counter to that, the observation is, you're right about the offense kind of running out of gas. I just think 3 years ago, when they lost to Gonzaga, man, David, you need guys that can make tough, challenged jump shots. The 2 best guys on that team in 2019 at doing that, in my opinion, were David Nichols and Phil Kofer. They weren't incredible scorers, but they were tough shot takers and makers, and neither one of them played against Gonzaga. And then last year, I don't think we can call it a trend with Leonard's teams, because I really do think, and maybe it's just me being too optimistic, I think that was his career team.
Yeah.
That was a team where everything had come together. He had every single piece. He had knockdown shooters in Polite and Walker when they could get open threes. He had a great point guard that could get in the paint and either distribute or finish. He had Devin Vassell, who was a lottery pick, who could shoot over anyone. He had the best athlete in the tournament in Patrick Williams. Not to mention guys like Raekwon and Malik and big centers. That was an all-time team that I think would have been able to look a little bit like I don't know, Baylor this year. Like I just think they had all the pieces. Maybe not a national championship team, and you can't just assume they're going to go to the Final Four. But man, I think if you put that Florida State team last year, it's easy to say they struggle in the tournament with good teams, but they've never had a team like that team. 3 years ago, 2 of their rotation players were hurt and didn't play. That really didn't help. And then last year, the all-time type team didn't even get a chance to play. I think you could have had games where Vassell went for 26 and knocked him down. I mean, he had games like that.
Yeah.
He was a knockdown shooter. So were Polite and Walker. You had a great point guard. You had a great forward coming off the bench. So let's hold back on saying that's just what Florida State does in the postseason, because I think we got robbed of seeing what an all-time Florida State team could have done. And maybe they could have changed the narrative a little bit.
Yeah. And let's not forget, man, 3 years ago they beat a number 1 seed in Xavier and then beat Gonzaga to get to the Elite Eight. So
yeah, put some points on them too.
Yeah, they've played really good. They've played good teams.
Those weren't
in the
like
tournament.
48-46 games. Those were pretty high scoring games, and they scored. And then in that game against Michigan, that was the best defensive team in the country, Michigan, or one of them, one of the top 5, and it came down to the last minute, really.
Also, ABQ Noel adds, in the future, can we please get in a region where we don't face Michigan or Gonzaga until the Final Four?
Wouldn't that be something? Yeah.
And while we're talking schedules and opponents, I'm with Corey. Please start scheduling a cupcake for the first football game every year for a while. I always hated the opening day games against the Canes. Felt like the season was on the line starting from the first game. That's all I have. Take care, guys. Signed,
that's a good
John
point, because
Spear.
we think it's more of like a recent development, like a modern phenomenon, but it has been they're bad football games too.
Yeah.
It's not just that they're tough. There's tough starts to the season. You don't want to start 0-1. Even the games they beat in Miami to start the year were awful football games, and it's just like it's just not good for anyone. So yeah, I really do think I don't know that it should be just for the foreseeable future. Just do it, man. I mean, I know Florida State in basketball sometimes has to open up with Florida or Pitt or somebody, but they'd also like to occasionally open up with Mercer or North Florida. Yeah. You walk into the season. Don't sprint into the season. Walk into it a little bit. And I know they're doing that next year, right? Didn't they schedule something before LSU?
Yeah. Let me pull it up.
Right?
Here. Yeah, I think
like
so.
week 0, they scheduled another game.
Yeah. So I'm trying to update the baseball thread, do research, keep an eye on our audio.
Keep doing it all.
I'm trying, man. Are you waiting for me to do this? You're going to keep going on something and give me some cover. Come on, man. You never.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you do that. I'll talk about the Final Four.
Well, no, if you're done with it, what I was going to say is this Notre Dame game. You want to talk about, man, if it's how it's so high risk, high reward, right? Like if you win the game, holy cow, the excitement around the team, around the program, the recruiting buzz, it's going to be amazing. You're the only game on that night. What a great thing. And then, the risk, if you lose that game, well, it's another deflating loss, and you're starting the year off, 5 years in a row of losing the game. Man, even if you win that game, you pour so much emotion into that game. Now, granted, week 2, is week 2 a cupcake this year? I feel like
yes.
It is, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think even the amount of emotion you'll pour into that game, is even like when you finally start playing another, even like week 3, you're probably going to have still some bit of a hangover from it. But nonetheless, I mean, if you win the game, I'm not complaining about it. But I think even the belief that, like, you win that game and, man, the world is your oyster after that. I'm hoping that's the case, but I do wonder when you have to put so much emotion, you're practicing. There's going to be a point in June where all they're talking about is Notre Dame. Not to us, but in the locker room, in the meetings. It's all going to be about Notre Dame. And when you put all that emphasis on that first game, and if it doesn't go your way, it's just like, ugh, and
odds are it's not going to go their way, right? I mean, I don't want to be the Debbie
correct.
Downer.
Yeah, odds are it won't.
But they're going to be the underdog in that game.
Yeah.
And that's
Duquesne. Duquesne, Corey. I'm sorry. I found it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there you go. They got Duquesne before the LSU game, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Come and get some, Duquesne. Come and get some. That was a friend of mine called them that. They upset Florida State in the tournament one year, and the next day at school he made fun of me and said, man, y'all can't even beat Duquesne. And I'm like, you can't even talk to me, man, because you have no idea what the name of that school is. It's like, I know they beat Florida State, and he walked off. But yeah, so I get that, man. I get that. Win or lose, there's a lot riding on that game. By the way, do you think, say Florida State does win that game, they score in overtime, Jordan Travis runs in the 2-point conversion, and they win? Does Tessitore say, and the Noles are back?
I hope. Florida State is back, folks.
Yeah, let's hope he holds off on that for a while. But yeah, look, man, they're riding whatever it is, the second longest season opening losing streak in the country. And it's because they play these types of games, except for Georgia Tech. How about beating Georgia Tech?
Yeah,
but
please.
All those other games are hard games. This is a hard game. LSU is a hard game. Like, you don't have to do this to yourselves. And hopefully, maybe they got Duquesne on retainer. And every year they can open up with Duquesne. That would be nice for everybody involved. Duquesne needs the money. Florida State needs the dubs. So that would help. But, yeah, I get it. I think I don't know that you can say that, okay, if they beat Notre Dame, then you're worried about the hangover 2 weeks later against Wake Forest. By that time, it better be flushed. Because nobody's going to believe, even if they do beat Notre Dame, nobody's going to be patting them on the backs too much.
Yeah, no, you're right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
it's going to be a sigh of relief.
Yeah. No, you're right. I was trying to be a little bit contrarian, a little bit provocative. Nonetheless, all right, we actually have another basketball question, but I probably should have got to. But we're going to save it for tomorrow. We got a life advice question from Primetime 92, so we'll save that for tomorrow. So we'll give you guys and ladies a Friday program. So
give them an update on the baseball game, Aslan, as we roll out of here.
It's 5-1. They're now on to their fourth pitcher of the inning right now, Mercer. After Cabell did the 2-run homer, White Crowell had an RBI triple, Vince Smith had a sac fly, Tyler Martin RBI single. I think Tyler's been on base every single time in the game as we record this. He's had 2 official at-bats, 1 hit, and a walk. Okay. And a hit by pitch.
Yeah, that's what he does. He's good at that, too.
Just gets on base. My guy, man. My guy. North Carolina comes to town this weekend, by the way, folks, so be prepared for that. Football done for the week, but we'll talk more about it on tomorrow's show because we have the questions remaining from the Renegade Express. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant. Fueled, says James Hetfield, by DeLuna Coffee.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.